Welcome once again to this edition of The Golden Rule. I'm so excited about this program. Just the fact that I do this every week, but specifically today's program. It's got a very special oomph to it. The Golden Rule is the name of the program, and it is a reference to the fact that Jesus said, treat other people the way you want them to treat you. And so one of the things we're doing here is encouraging people to become more active in the work of God. If you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, you're watching this today, this probably won't mean a whole lot to you. So I'm talking to the Christians, of whom there are many, and I'm explaining to you your assignment. Here's your assignment. It's very simple. I'm going to ask you right now, before I give you the assignment, to repeat out loud, wherever you are right now. I want you to repeat out loud this 4-line prayer, and it's going to be on the screen so you can read it. So be looking at your screen and read along with me as we read what's called the prayer of Jabez. Here we go. Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested. Your assignment is to read that prayer out loud at least once a day for 30 days. It takes 15 seconds. And you may be saying, what's the big deal about that? What's that going to accomplish? I'll give you an illustration of what it accomplishes. This book was written by a man named Bruce Wilkinson. It's based on the prayer of Jabez, which you just read. It's a 1-line prayer. Out of 31,103 verses in the Bible, that one prayer stood out to the author and made such an impact on his life that he prayed it every day for 30 years. I'm asking you to pray it for 30 days, but I'm hoping that once you start praying it and you start seeing the results in your own life, that you'll pray it every day, because you want to be fruitful and you know that you can't do it without God's help. So I'm going to do something I don't usually do, but I'm going to read an excerpt out of this book just to give you an idea of how it played out in this man's life. This is Bruce Wilkinson speaking. He says, during a week-long speaking engagement some years ago at a large Christian college in California, I challenged the students to pray the Jabez prayer for more blessing and greater influence. I suggested that the 2,000-member student body set a ministry goal worthy of a college of its stature. Why not look at the globe and pick an island, I suggested, and when you've picked it out, put together a team of students, charter an airliner, and then take over the island for God. Some students roared out loud, some questioned my sanity, but nearly everyone listened. I persisted. I'd been to the island of Trinidad and seen the need. I told them, you should ask God for Trinidad and a DC-10. I had no immediate takers. Still, the challenge prompted a flurry of stimulating conversations. I found most students eager to do something meaningful with their time and talents. And I hope that describes you too. I hope you have a desire to do something meaningful for God with your time and your talents. But they were unsure where to start, and that may describe you. You're sitting there thinking, I don't know how to do anything for God. I know you don't. Neither do I. But He created you for a purpose, and He wants to reveal His purpose to you so you can do what He's created you to do. They usually made a point of listing their deficiencies in skill, money, courage, or opportunity. I spent much of that week asking a question. If the God of heaven loves you infinitely and wants you in His presence every moment, and if He knows that heaven is a much better place for you, then why on earth has He left you here? With student after student, I pressed home what I understand to be a biblical answer to that question. because God wants you to be moving out your boundary lines, taking in new territory for Him, maybe an island, and reaching people in His name. God was at work. A week after I'd returned home, I received a letter from a student named Warren. He told me that he and his friend Dave had decided to challenge God's power and ask Him to bless them and enlarge their borders. Specifically, they had prayed that God would give them the opportunity to witness to the governor of the state that weekend. Throwing their sleeping bags in Warren's 63 Plymouth Valiant, they had driven the 400 miles to the capital of Sacramento to pound on doors. The letter continues. By Sunday night, when we got back from Sacramento, this is what had happened. We had expressed our faith to 2 gas station attendants, 4 security guards, the head of the U.S. National Guard, the director of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare for the state of California, the head of the California Highway Patrol, the governor's secretary, and finally, the governor himself. As God is making us grow, we're thankful and scared stiff. Thanks again for your challenge. And that was a letter from Warren and Dave. But that was just the beginning. Over the next weeks and months, a vision for more territory swept the campus. By fall, a student team headed by Warren and Dave had mounted a major mission project for the following summer. They called it Operation Jabez. Their objective, assemble a team of self-supported student workers, charter a jet, and, you guessed it, fly to the island of Trinidad for a summer of ministry. And that is exactly what they did. 126 students and faculty signed up. By the time the jet took off, fully loaded from Los Angeles, Operation Jabez boasted trained teams ready to minister through drama, construction, vacation Bible school, music, and home visitation. The college president called Operation Jabez the single most significant student ministry venture in the college's history. 2 students had asked God to enlarge their territory, and He did. One little prayer had remapped boundary lines and impacted the lives of thousands of people. Does that make it clear how this works? Warren and Dave were nobodies but college students who happened to sit in a meeting where a man named David Wilkerson challenged them to pray a prayer and expect God to increase their territory. And they took on a big chunk. I mean, to me, asking God to give you an opportunity to minister to the governor of the state 400 miles away by the weekend, that's a big chunk. But I just read that to you to illustrate, and God will never cause you to do something that He won't equip you to do. You can't say, well, I don't have this ability or these contacts or any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't make any difference. God is looking for people to pray big, impossible prayers. So, I'm asking you, the citizens, the Christians in Detroit Lakes, to join me in praying once a day for 30 days, the prayer of Jabez. We're going to put it back up on the screen, and you're going to read it again with me out loud, wherever you are. Ready? Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. And so God granted him what he requested. Now you realize that last line, so God granted him what he requested, is not a part of the prayer. That's just a tag on to explain that God not only heard his prayer, but he answered it. And he'll do the same for you. And every one of you, if your heart is in it to do this, God is going to give you creative ideas. And I have no idea what they'll be. My vision is to see Detroit Lakes become a beacon of righteousness. I want to see righteousness in our government. I want to see righteousness in our schools. I want to see righteousness in our business community. I want to see righteousness in our homes. I want to see righteousness in our entertainment segment of our community. I want people to live righteous life because we will be then blessed as a community by God. God says, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. God wants righteous leadership in every, and He wants us to start in your home. God wants righteous husbands, righteous fathers to take the leadership in their homes and do things like read the prayer of Jabez together with your entire family. 15 seconds is all it takes. And you're sitting there saying, what good is it going to accomplish? Ask me that question in 30 days. You're going to find out what good it'll accomplish. I want to read you one. Do I have time to read one more excerpt out of this story? You know, what we're asking to do, there's no airfares involved. There's no motels. There's no travel expenses. We're just going to stay right here in Detroit Lakes. And I'm just communicating to you a vision. That's my vision. I want my territory extended from just me and my little household to all of Detroit Lakes. You say, well, that's no big deal. It is a big deal for me. I don't know how to do this, but you're going to help me. I want to read to you now another incident that happened with Bruce Wilkinson. The Jabez prayer is a revolutionary request. Just as it's highly unusual to hear anyone pray, God, please bless me, so it's rare to hear anyone plead, God, please give me more ministry. Most of us think our lives are too full already. But when in faith you start to pray for more ministry, amazing things occur. As your opportunities expand, your ability and resources supernaturally increase too. Right away, you'll sense the pleasure God feels in your request and His urgency to accomplish great things through you. People will show up on your doorstep or at the table next to you. They'll start saying things that surprise even them. They'll ask for something, they're not sure what, and they'll wait for your reply. I call those encounters Jabez appointments. I remember the first time I asked for one. It was in a very surprising place, aboard a ship off the coast of Turkey. I was traveling alone, scouting out a tour company that specialized in taking groups around the Mediterranean, following in the footsteps of the early church. We'd enjoyed beautiful days aboard with plenty of time for me to work on various projects, but I was getting lonelier by the day. The morning we anchored at Patmos, the island where John wrote the book of Revelation, I hit bottom. Instead of taking the guided tour, I walked around the streets of the little port, talking to the Lord. Lord, I feel so homesick and so weak. And I prayed, but I want to be your servant. Even now, enlarge my borders. Send somebody who needs me. And that's a good thing to do when you're feeling down in the dumps and feeling sorry for yourself. Well, I'm not going to be able to finish this whole thing, but a guy named Terry shows up, explains to him that his marriage is falling apart. His wife is going to leave him that night. He says, he prays for him and he says, talks to him about the Lord, and he says, call me or come back here before the ship leaves tonight and let me know what happened. As the ship was getting ready to pull out, blew the horn for the last departure, Terry and his wife came running, holding hand in hand. It worked, we're together. God wants to work miracles through you and through me. And all we have to do is be willing and ready. Read the prayer of Jabez once a day, at least once a day, for 30 days. And then call me at the end of the month. Let me know how it went. God bless you. Thanks for listening. See you next week.